Hey, what's up team? It's Sherman here from Geek Psychology. This video is on Imperator Furiosa from Mad Max Fury Road and how she is an ENTJ, Enneagram Type 8. So in this video I'm going to be going through the cognitive function stack, kind of in a jumbled order, but it's okay. And I'll go through the dominant function, extroverted thinking, then the tertiary, extroverted sensing, then Enneagram Type 8, then the inferior or aspirational function, introverted feeling, and back up to the auxiliary function of introverted intuition. So if that doesn't make much sense to you, that's okay. I'll still be explaining it as we go through. But this felt like it was the best structure. Structure is not really my thing in general, but this should work. Okay? So starting out, the word imperator means a victorious general. And I think a lot of ETJs, you ENTJs, really can relate to that feeling, that desire to be this commander, this general of an army. And Furiosa does that. She's a badass, and let's figure out why she's so badass. Starting out, extroverted thinking is an expansive function. It's extroverted, so it's seeking breadth. It's not intensive like the introverted functions. And it's impersonal, it's logic-based, and it uses objective methods to organize and understand the world and then kind of use that to move towards progress. And a lot of what it does, because it's a judging function, it's a decision-making function, it controls things. And in this case, it controls the outer world. It controls the methods, and it organizes things in order to reach the goals. So there's this overall analogy that I was thinking of when I was watching the movie and going over my notes, that the war rig itself fits pretty well with extroverted thinking. So hear me out on this. Extroverted thinkers use this left brain side to make their decisions. FP1 is the region up front in the front left that is used to cut out incoming information and make decisions. And extroverted thinkers use this region very heavily to just make quick decisions and get things going. And it assesses things, the brain style assesses things using evidence-based reasoning. It looks for what's measurable in the world around you and through data that they already know. And it is a task and goal focused, completion focused style. So within the front area of the war rig, there are tons of gauges and switches that are used to empirically measure various resources. Extroverted thinking does that. It sets things up and tries to measure how much progress you're making versus the time and all these different costs, and it finds the most efficient route from here to here, from A to B. In the center console, there's this basket with tools and different useful items and things in it, and different compartments on the side. And I feel that extroverted thinking has these different methods that it knows, like the scientific method, for example, or whatever other standard objective procedures, and it uses that when it's time to set a goal and to assess the progress of it. So it's kind of taking these tools from the past, from things that they've learned, and adapting it to a new situation. And because there are all these makeshift tools, when the steering wheel comes off, it gets torn off by the war boys, she grabs a wrench and uses that as the new steering wheel, as a makeshift, efficient substitute for it. And she also uses a door for a shield. And there are hidden switches for the start sequence under the panel in the front. And this helps you override the kill switch.
Kill switches. I set the sequence myself. This rig goes nowhere without me.
And I think a lot of ENTJs can relate to this. If the outer world isn't logically controlled, then there's this feeling that the whole system is going to go to hell. It's going to break down. And so ENTJs and other extroverted thinking dominants, ETJs, feel that they're going to be exposed and left vulnerable if they're not in control and they don't regulate what is going on in the world around them. And this is definitely not a negative thing. It's one way of giving inner peace. And, you know, people have different approaches to all these different things. That's why these are cognitive function preferences. I don't prefer it. It's my weakness. But I can see how it's a good approach in a lot of ways. I wouldn't want everybody to be on the same introverted feeling dominant wavelength as me. That would not be a successful, productive, good world to be in. It would be chaotic. It would be hectic. And I wouldn't want everybody to be extroverted thinkers or introverted sensors or extroverted sensors, whatever it is. You need this balance of all these different styles. So think about it like that and just realize that this is one way of human progress. And Furiosa tells Max that if she doesn't make it back, then here's the kill switch code.
This is the sequence. 1, 1, 2, 1. Red, black, go.
So it's very specific. It's very clearly defined and step-by-step instructions for life. And extroverted thinking kind of works like that. If you press these codes in this order, the vehicle will go. That's good. That's a good thing. You can rely on that. You can know that this is how life works. If you shift into drive, press the gas pedal, the vehicle will go in the direction that the wheels are allowing it to go. If it didn't work like that, then the world would be chaotic. Like, you could never rely on anything because it's just all random. And so extroverted thinking is a forward-moving function. It has a goal and it works towards reaching that goal. And most of the movie is her driving the war rig straight forward towards her goal. And she, powers through obstacles or drives dangerously close to that giant tornado, but it's all calculated. It's not just on a whim. She sees things, she figures out how it's going to work. She knows that the war rig itself is heavier than all these other vehicles that are chasing her, so it's likely that they'll get taken up and taken away, and she'll be able to stay grounded and continue driving. So she tries to mechanically or rationally, logically, objectively control situations based on their predictability. And she also takes fate into her own hands. And extroverted thinkers are extroverted judgers. Judging wants to rationally structure things. In this case, it's rationally structuring the outer world. And it's not the introverted side of things. And so they don't want to leave life up to fate. Maybe like the other functions within the stack will want to do that, but extroverted thinking itself does not want to do that. And by structuring the outer world, you have that inner freedom to develop your own style and to explore yourself and your feelings and emotions and beliefs and all that other stuff that a lot of times gets pushed down.
Tell him to turn the rig around!
Did you see it?
She went under the wheels.
Did you see it?
She went under the wheels.
We keep moving.
No!
We keep
He doesn't
moving!
know what he's talking about!
So once the whole world makes sense and things are reliable around you, then you can relax. So now let's go on to extroverted sensing. This is the tertiary function. This is another extroverted function. And extroverted sensing is another expansive, breadth-focused function. But this time it's a perceiving function. So it's trying to take in more information. And in this case, it's sensory-based, tangible perceptions of the world around you. Extroverted sensing likes novel, new, physical experiences. And we'll see what a thing is for what it is and not attach an assessment to it. My analogy that I was thinking about for this is the War Boys themselves and the action of the whole movie. It just seemed to fit well enough that like the action in the movie and practically everything going on is full on kinesthetic, sensual, and just popping. Everything is exciting in the movie. It's a very fast-paced action movie. And the sheer like spectacle of everything felt very extroverted sensing to me. There are guns and fire and guitars that shoot fire and just high energy, high octane, fast paced excitement. And extroverted sensing kind of has this stereotype of wanting to take in more excitement because that's what tickles the sensory bits and pieces. So it's like, well, if I can go outside and watch the birds flying around, that's way more exciting than just sitting in a room like this and not doing anything. And so if you turn that up more and more, then it's even more exciting. And it keeps you from following a plan. And that's extroverted sensing does that too, because you're always in a position to adapt to what is happening, to crisis or whatever else it is. If something comes your way, you adapt to it. It takes advantage of the current situation, the current context, the current options, by allowing you also to just immerse yourself into that present moment. If you're fully in the moment, then you can take advantage of those things that are coming.
We take my blood bag! We take my blood bag and strap him to the Lancer's perch. It's got a muzzle on it! It's a raging feral! That's right. High-octane crazy blood filling me up. If I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die historic on the Fury Road.
When you're using extroverted sensing, you prepare yourself for anything. Any like hidden excitement or danger, whatever is going to happen, so you can quickly adapt to that external crisis and focus on impact as well. So how can you make a big impact in the environment and make a spectacle sometimes, doing whatever you can to just have this big force in the world. And so you can see the War Boys are like fully into this. They're in love with the idea of driving fast, shooting, throwing fire, throwing like spears that explode, swinging from these like wacky little pole things, and even sacrificing themselves in order to go to Valhalla, which is kind of like the pinnacle of, I guess, an extroverted sensing sensory experience, is to die in this flame of glory.
Get up! You can do it!
Obviously, it's going to an extreme here, but I could see that the War Boys are about that. If they're the symbolic representation of extroverted sensing. All right, so now let's talk about Enneagram Type 8. I almost did this whole video on the Enneagram style instead of ENTJ, but put them both together. So Type 8s have this childhood wound, usually, that is, the world is dangerous. It could be emotionally dangerous, it could be physically dangerous, but there's some danger out there, and they need to toughen up. They need to be the stronger force in the world, or they're going to get taken advantage of, or bad things are going to happen, or they're going to die. It's for their survival. And their weaknesses were often used against them in some way, whatever that weakness is.
How do you know this place even exists?
I was born there.
So why'd you leave?
I didn't. I was taken as a child. Stolen.
She feels that she needs to be strong. She needs to use her skills to kind of level up and progress, and then use that as a way to fight against Joe and against the injustice of the world. Type 8s are often very strong leaders. I can't say actually that they're great leaders, because it depends on the person, right? It depends on the other motivations going on. But they make quick decisions, extroverted thinking, and although it is important for them to have other information, other perspectives, which I'll talk about later, this is one key skill to have, is to be able to act and then adapt. And the Type 8s also fight for the underdog a lot, and they fight against that injustice that I was talking about. That's what she's doing. She's fighting against Joe, and she even steals the breeders or his wife's.
Splendid. And Harrod.
They are not your property.
Miss Kitty.
You cannot own a human being. Sooner or later, someone pushes back.
Where is she taking them?
She didn't take them. They begged her to go.
Where is she taking them?
A long way from you.
There's also this ego fixation, this mental preoccupation for Type 8s on vengeance. They're really seeking vengeance and this punishment exacted for a wrongdoing. Maybe it's not fully conscious, but this is what she's trying to do. She's getting revenge against Joe, taking the wives, and then going to her home again. And also Type 8's vice or passion is lust. And this doesn't necessarily mean lust in a sexual way. It could be, but it's a passionate desire or craving for something. You can have a lust for power as well. And I felt that this was a good connection between extroverted thinking and extroverted sensing. It's this impersonal approach to gaining material and tangible wealth and success. There's this push to conquer weaknesses because, as I was talking about, the childhood wound is in there and vulnerability is like a big theme throughout the Type 8s, that they want to conquer whatever weakness it is. And that could be a weakness within you, which is why you want to puff up and assert yourself and become strong. Or it could be conquering somebody else's weakness so that you can gain power over them as well. The virtue for the Type 8s is magnanimity or generosity or innocence. A lot of different names. People use different ones, I guess. There's no like specific one. But by her completing her goals, which I'll talk about, she is brought back to innocence. And her desire is to reconnect to that innocent side of herself, which is her inferior or aspirational function. And it's what was taken from her when she was younger. So you can see there's that connection between extroverted thinking and introverted feeling as well. When she was younger, bad things happen. She lost her innocence, introverted feeling, and is pulled into this world that is kind of uncaring and ruthless in a lot of ways. I'm not saying that extroverted thinkers are ruthless, but the function itself is focused on reaching a goal as effectively or efficiently as possible without clouding it with emotions and other perspectives and things like that. And so the basic fear for the Enneagram Type 8 is a loss of control. And ENTJs, ETJs also feel that a lot too, I think, is because if you don't structure that outer world, then the inner world is vulnerable, it's exposed, it's open. And if that happens, then bad things start coming out, bad things come in. So you need that war rig to protect you in a lot of ways. And through the desire to maintain control, you often seek power. And you reject your weaknesses, and you reject weakness in other people in a lot of ways too, and assert yourself over that. And this, when it's healthy, comes out as protecting the underdog, seeing that weakness and trying to protect it.
How does it feel?
It hurts.
Out here, everything hurts. You want to get through this? Do as I say. Now pick up what you can and run.
Okay, so now let's talk about introverted feeling, the inferior or aspirational fourth function. So this is the polar opposite of extroverted thinking. So for someone who focuses on extroverted thinking as their dominant function, introverted feeling is going to be what's repressed and what's not looked at. And this is an intensive, depth-focused, feeling-based function. It's another decision-making function. It helps you decide on what you should do in a situation, but this time it's based on your personal approach to things with your feelings and your values and your beliefs. And everybody feels emotions and everybody believes and values certain things, but introverted feeling sets up this blueprint, this structure to make decisions based on what happened to you in the past and how things match your identity. And it does not like to budge from that. Trust me. So the analogy here is the green place. Healthy introverted feeling, no matter what level it's at within the cognitive function stack, a healthy introverted feeling function is a moral compass that guides us all into making decisions by recognizing your identity and your soul's influence on the situation, moment to moment. And we all do good things or bad things at times, and with introverted feeling, it brings out this sense of them all shaping the world and the universe in this kind of larger picture. And our character's impact on the situation is ever present. And using introverted feeling, you explore and try to understand and define and categorize different values and feelings and emotions and beliefs to build your own identity, to find and locate your soul. And this causes us to connect a lot of times really deeply and intensely with a handful of specific things or ideas or animals, people, and not in a breadth focused. It's very one-to-one in a lot of ways. And then it ranks them according to your own personal values and how much you value this thing or this person or this animal or this ideal. So that's what introverted feeling is, and how it relates to the green place is your inferior or aspirational function is this life-giving quest. I guess it's more of an aspirational function in this sense. That she's trying to go to the green place because she wants to regain her innocence, her youth, her humanity, and she also wants to save humanity as well. And she says, I was born there, I was taken as a child, stolen. That's kind of the feeling of the inferior aspirational function, is that it's something that was kind of ripped away from you when you were younger, and you can't do it well, you struggle with it in relation to the other functions, the higher functions. And so it causes you a lot of problems. And so going back there, reconnecting to your fourth function is a way of completing yourself and becoming whole again. And so she takes the breeders in the war rig to the green place in search of hope for them. That's why they're going there. But for her, she says it's not hope, it's redemption. And redemption means being saved. And she feels like she'll be saved when she reaches this innocence, this green place, and reconnects to introverted feeling. And when she learns that the green place doesn't exist anymore, it's gone, she screams, she emotes, she cries, and it's this very epic, emotional moment. This shows also that it's got that powerful connection. Extroverted thinkers have this deep connection to their feelings, but it's not the prioritized way of interacting with the world. It's oftentimes pushed down because it doesn't really make sense, and it clouds the picture. It stops them from moving forward and progressing. And so now moving on to the inferior side of introverted feeling for her is the muddy place. So she's on the mission to go to the green place, and when she gets to where she thinks it is, the Vuvalini come out, the like woman tribe, and tell her that it's gone.
Home. The green place.
But if you came from the west, you passed it.
The crows. That creepy place with all the crows.
The soil.
We had to get out.
We had no water, and
The water was filth.
it was poisoned. It was sour.
And then the crows came.
We couldn't grow anything.
Where are the others?
What others?
The many mothers.
We're the only ones left.
This kind of shows how, for a thinking dominant, that the feeling function is a difficult place to hold on to. It's elusive, it's slippery, and it's hard to categorize your different layers of feelings and emotions. It's just not where you spend a lot of your time and energy on. And introverted feeling is trying to categorize and define those beliefs and tastes and values, right? So by the green place not being there and it being the muddy place now, it's mucky, it's sticky, it's tricky, it's hard to deal with. And I thought that was a very good analogy to an inferior introverted feeling. The green place really was there all along. It was in her blind spot. It was where she came from. The best equivalent to the green place anyway, because that's where all the water was. That's where the life was. But she had to go on this journey to explore and to find the green place and go through hell and death and pain and loss in order to realize that it was always there. And it's always there. You just need to give it that time to come out of your unconscious and to become a more conscious focus. And how you do that is through introverted intuition, your auxiliary function, as an ENTJ anyway. Introverted intuition is another intensive introverted function. It's abstract. So the tertiary of extroverted sensing was about that real, tangible, in the moment sensory experience, right? This is the other side of that spectrum. So it's the abstract, not in the moment. It's that long-term, universal meta perspective of things. And it's a perceiving function as well. So it's looking at the world and not necessarily making an assessment and judgment of it, if it's good or bad or correct or incorrect, but it's seeing it. It's seeing how it is and seeing what will happen in the future. And it does this in a very holistic way. The brain pattern used is a Zen-like state where the whole brain is kind of searching and sifting for an answer. How it does that is by synthesizing all these different insights into one focused point and cutting away the false connections and finding that underlying connection of all these different ideas. And it does that a lot of times through shifting perspectives and seeing things from different angles until that correct idea comes out in this aha type moment. And so introverted intuition can be seen as the other passengers. It's kind of like the movie Inside Out, but with guns and violence and other stuff. But like all those different people have their perspective within the war rig itself. So she's taken in all these different people, the breeders, the Vuvolini, Max, and Nux, and has to listen to their opinions and their perspectives in some way. She can't completely ignore them. She doesn't know what they're going to do. Those people are not from the exact same reality as her. She's had a different life than all of them.
You don't have to do it just because he tells you.
What choice does she have?
He's not gonna hurt us. He needs us.
Why?
To bargain.
Oh, he'll hurt us, all right.
Do you think he's coming to the green place?
Never. He's a crazy smeg who eats schlanger.
Introverted intuition allows the ENTJ to see these different ways of looking at something, to ask these novel questions, to find out what is going on in the longer holistic sense of things. And she might not like what they do. She might think it's paradoxical or not as clear-cut and rational as she would like, but they still have their say and they can do whatever they want.
What are you doing?
Praying.
To who?
Anyone that's listening.
And by allowing yourself as an ENTJ to accept things that are not logical and just to think about it and be like, okay, let's see where this is going, and give it that time, give you that time to just disconnect and let your brain process all this stuff and bring it out, instead of just being like, let's go, let's get into this action, let's have some fun.
All right. This is your way home.
We go back?
Back?
Yeah.
I thought you weren't insane anymore.
What are they saying?
He wants to go back from where they came.
Citadel. What's there to find at the Citadel?
Green.
And water. There's a ridiculous amount of clear water. And a lot of crops.
It's got everything you need, as long as you're not afraid of heights.
Where does the water come from?
He pumps it up from deep in the earth, calls it aquacola, and claims it all for himself.
This pulls you to slow down and to access your personal, subjective realm. And you do that enough, and you're going to have more access to your introverted feeling. And there's one more thing also that introverted intuition and extroverted sensing, they're both on that spectrum, they're both very visual. And you can see this in both ways. Through extroverted sensing, it's fire, shooting, guns, explosions, and sand flying all over the place. And then on the introverted intuition side, if we're talking about it through this analogy of the different passengers, the breeders themselves are visually appealing and they are symbolic. They have names like splendid, toast, capable, fragile, the dag, that all represent different things in a symbolic way. And so I thought that this was a very good way of seeing that spectrum as a visual spectrum and using symbols and things like that. Why does all this matter? Well, because you can grow yourself through a more focused, this is strange to say, a more focused attention on introverted intuition and your auxiliary function. So introverted intuition is very transcendent and transformative. It sees different unique approaches to a situation. Instead of seeing just many options available, it tries to narrow it down, right, into that one focused point. And it's long-ranged, it's timeless, it's universal, and this will give your accomplishments and your goals a longer range. You'll be able to do things that have a bigger impact on yourself and your future and the people around you. And then through that, you're going to loop back into your introverted feeling and support people and reconnect to your innocence and your vulnerable side, which is a good thing. Trust me, it does have its benefits. It does have the good side of being free and just accepting vulnerability. It's not the prettiest place all the time, but you'll be able to connect to that and really feel how you want to be and really assess and define and categorize your life and your actions and where you are going and those things in your past that you've kind of blocked out a bit. You'll be able to reconnect to those and learn from those lessons and go further in a stronger, better way. And most people struggle with dealing with the auxiliary function because the tertiary function is just more accessible. It's from the same mindset. If you're an extrovert, it's also extroverted. The tertiary is. If you're an introvert, the tertiary is introverted. So it kind of speaks the same language, but your auxiliary function gives you just a different perspective. And if you are someone who uses the external data points and tries to make those measurable progress-focused systems and efficient decisions, slowing down and thinking about things from different perspectives without making a decision and just letting more information, more ideas come in is a struggle.
You traitor him!
No unnecessary kill!
That's why I want me dead!
We agree! He's coming crazy! He's just a kid at the end of his half-life!
No, I live, I die, I live again!
Tie him out! Throw him out!
It's over, you can't defy him.
Watch us, mate.
He is the one who grabbed the sun!
Look how slick he's fooled you, war boy. He's a lying old man.
By his hand, we'll be lifted up!
That's why we have his logo seen on our backs. Breeding stone, battle fodder!
No, I am awaiting!
You're an old man's battle fodder, killing everyone and everything!
We're not to blame!
Then who
So at some point, if you don't give enough attention to your other world, in this case, your introverted side, it's going to explode. It's going to come out and you will feel like you've been taken over by somebody else. And you're like, that's not me, that's not what I meant to do, I'm not like this usually. That's your psyche pushing you to connect to your inferior function and to that other side. And it can cause problems, and you can think that the world is going crazy and everybody else is the problem. But it's actually within you.
We can't breathe down there! Stay out of sight!
And when that happens, you know, you might go into this crisis, and it's another sign that you need to connect to your auxiliary function in order to bridge that gap to your inferior function. And she essentially ran into Max and Nux. It wasn't planned on, right? It was, she had her goal, and then all this other stuff happened, and she actually connected with them. And because she did that, she was able to reach her goals and go to the green place and become the awesome person that she seems to have become by the end of the movie. And it's because she's let other people in and she's seen things in this different perspective. And so for you, as an ENTJ, I feel the way to personal growth is going to be connecting to that auxiliary function of introverted intuition. And symbolically, it's like letting other people into the war rig and giving them the wheel and letting them control a little bit, whether you feel that it's the right choice, the correct choice or not. Just being okay with it, seeing things from different perspectives, giving it that time to go in whatever direction it's going to go without trying to take control over it. And the more you do that, the more okay you are with allowing these other perspectives to take the wheel.
I'm gonna need you to drive.
And you'll be able to actually come back to your introverted feeling, to what is not the green place, but is the place that was there all along, your inferior aspirational function, and rise to the top and become this great imperator, this great commander of people, and the one who fights for the underdogs and against injustice, and really is that strong symbol of greatness and good, proper leadership as well.
Remember me?
So I hope this video has been helpful. If you haven't seen Mad Max Fury Road in a while, after watching this video, I suggest you check it out again and kind of see all these different connections, especially if you're an ENTJ. And also check out the Patreon account. It's been great. I'm getting a lot of support, and it feels really good for me, and it's giving me that motivation and ability to produce better quality videos and spending more time on those. At least I hope they're better quality videos. As well as within the patron bonuses, there are some other cool things like the Hero Maker framework and me sharing my life from living in Tokyo, Japan, and also some personal consulting and teaching, coaching type stuff. So thank you very much for watching. Keep up the lifelong questing. Good luck, have fun, and peace.
All right. This is your way home.
We go back?
Back?
Yeah.
I thought you weren't insane anymore.
What are they saying?
He wants to go back from where they came.
Citadel.
What's there to find at the Citadel?
Green.
And water. There's a ridiculous amount of clear water. And a lot of crops.
It's got everything you need, as long as you're not afraid of heights.
Where does the water come from?
He pumps it up from deep in the earth, calls it aqua cola, and claims it all for himself.
And because he owns it, he owns all of us.
I don't like him already.